Hello, I'm Janusz Naklicki. I'm Chief Strategy Officer at Synerise. Today, we are going to talk about how truly scientific research fits into the commercial AI company, why recommendation systems are becoming a critical competitive advantage for business, and how new approaches to behavioral modeling are changing the way companies personalize customer experience. My guest today is Daniel Mattern, Head of Applied AI at Synerise. Daniel, let's start from the big picture. Why does a scale-up, relatively small commercial AI company like Synerise invest in scientific research?
Oh, well, partly because we having so many academics in the team, if we didn't publish papers, they would probably start doing it anyway. But more seriously, at Synerise, we build systems that make real business decisions, things like recommendations or personalizations for millions of users. And to do that well, the technology has to be not only practical, but also scientifically super solid. And publishing research forces a very, very high level of rigor. When you publish a paper, your work is evaluated by the global research community, which is probably the strongest form of quality control you can apply. Secondly, it also helps us stay competitive and, well, admittedly, attract great talent because many researchers want to work on problems that are both scientifically interesting, captivating, even, and still applied in real products. But importantly, our research is never detached from real business use cases, and the goal is always to turn scientific progress into something measurable, a measurable improvement for companies using our products.
So, not only renewed universities of this world publish scientific papers, but also smaller companies that are focused on the business and the practical AI are bringing this research to the world. So that's my second question, coming directly from this. Your recent paper shows that base model significantly outperforms other systems like LIGER or in sequential recommendations benchmark. Could you explain from business perspective what practical improvements can companies expect? For example, in conversion rates, personalization quality, or simply revenue?
Well, obviously, from business perspective, better recommendation mean more relevant interactions with customers, right? And that usually translates into high engagement, higher conversion rate, improved discovery across the catalog. So instead of recommending only the most popular items, which everybody can do, system can successfully surface a much broader range of products and much more interesting to the user and better for the company itself, right? And in our research, in our practice also, we saw the biggest challenge, but also the biggest improvement comes in situations where recommendation systems, well, usually struggle. What they struggle the most with is when product or services really little historical data, so past interactions.
Okay.
And that's the business that in the industry is called cold start problem.
Okay, well, let's level the vocabulary now and let's ensure that everyone understands. What is the cold start in recommendations? Please explain this in the very simple words.
Right. Okay. Let me try this. So cold start happens when a recommendation system has, in this context, a recommendation system has really little data about something, about the past of something. As you know, most recommendation engines learn from the past, right? From the previous interactions, purchases, clicks, views, and so on. So if many users interacted with an item before, it's easy, right? The system can learn patterns and recommend it to other people, other users, other viewers. But when a product is new, the service has never been launched before, the system has almost nothing to learn from. And from the algorithm perspective, this item is almost invisible, right? And this situation happens very often in real business situations because a large part of any catalog, especially marketplaces or think of streaming services, consists of new or sometimes niche, or sometimes really rarely purchased or rarely viewed items, right? And that's a cold start problem, right? You don't have enough data to learn from.
Okay, so now we know what's the cold start in recommendation is. So now tell us how cold start recommendations, which is a major challenge for many digital platforms launching new product or content, how could the improvements that Synerise demonstrated in this benchmark translate into the competitive advantage of the business? So we have a problem, which is a cold start. We have a solution and the new benchmark coming from Synerise. So we need to now understand how these improvements are translating into competitive business.
Right, as I said, like new things, right? So companies constantly launch new products, new services. Everybody launches new content daily, right? These first days of exposure are often the most critical, right? And if the recommendation system cannot promote those new items effectively, they remain hidden from their users, from their target customers. And here, well, there's lots of science behind it, and I will trivialize it a little bit. But what our approaches does is combining really being better with behavioral data when it's sparse, when there is little of these behavioral patterns, with product attributes like category or description or whatever we can basically know from the product or service when it's launched, the author, anything. And that allows the system to generate meaningful recommendations, even when this interaction data is still very fresh and very limited, right? So this combination really works. And for businesses, this basically means that new products, new services, new content can be discovered faster. And obviously, then they start generating interactions and gain momentum, right? So the full catalog can then be used more effectively from this business perspective, right?
Okay, so we understand now what this can additionally bring to business, but the paper that you just published, the compares-based model with state-of-art systems like Tiger and Liger, right? What does outperforming of these existing models mean in terms of cost efficiency? Is it that customer would save on infrastructure requirements? Is this the scalability problem solve, or something else for the companies deploying the AI recommendations engines?
Right. Well, again, I would say that actually being small here or smaller company, that helps, right? Because we really have to be efficient. And in real world deployment, performance alone isn't enough, right? Efficiency is just as important. Some models, some recommendation models, some other models, also large language models, achieve great results, but require really large amount of data and computational resources to crunch the data, which makes them quite expensive to train and also expensive to run later, right? And what we focused with base model on from the start is not to be prohibitively expensive, not to be expensive at all to maintain. So we focus on compact behavioral representations that summarize this rich user interaction history in the most efficient way possible. That makes the system scalable for millions of users and products while keeping infrastructure costs, infrastructure requirements really manageable. That's something we can definitely dwell on one day as well.
Excellent. Thank you. So my last question, if we go beyond the academic benchmark, how do you see this research that you just published influencing the next generation of the AI-driven personalization platforms that are widely used by retailers, streaming services, or financial services? How this research will shape the future of AI personalization, in your opinion?
Right. One direction we increasingly see is the development of more general behavioral models, so called foundation models that can support many different tasks, many different personalization tasks and prediction tasks. So instead of training separate model for each problem. The companies, the scientists as well, are starting to rely on a single model that powers recommendations, predictions, personalizations, classifications, many different problems across different channels, right? And research like ours helps to move in that direction by improving how these models can crunch this sparse behavior, can represent behavior, and how they deal with these sparse, short, fresh data. And ultimately, this means AI systems can adapt much faster, much quicker, grasp the new forming behavioral patterns. They can work for new products, and they work with changing customer behavior, right?
Thank you for the very clear and down-to-earth explanations on the results of your recently published paper and the possible impact on the businesses of this world. I'm always super happy to see when the small companies like Synerise are beating the big players of this world. This really makes us happy. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.